What's up, Transformdom? This is Ben here in China, and today we're going to take a look at the DX9 D12 Gabriel. Wow! This is the masterpiece interpretation of Omega Supreme. And here we have the box from the front. And doesn't Gabriel look menacing with those evil red eyes? Even though he's an Autobot, the box is huge. Just how huge? I mean, when you compare to the MP10 box, it is almost twice the size of the MP box in terms of height, and the Gabriel box is almost twice as thick. So let's take a quick look at the packaging. Here it is from the front, from the side, and it looks like a drawing of Cybertron. The other side, the top, with the Constructicons, but only 5 of them, from the bottom, and the back. I mean, take a look at the size of the Gabriel box. It's like just as big as my torso. Without further ado, let's crack this guy open. And as always, I like to open my box from the bottom. Boom. Oh, yeah. Ooh, darling. Ooh, yeah. Let's open this baby up. Come on, push it. Oh, push it. Come on, push it. Oh, you can do it. Push it. Oh, come on, the light is so bright. Push it. Oh, push it out. Come on, push. Oh, look at that. The styrofoam is coming out. Oh, push it. Push it. I'm running out of real estate. Oh. Yeah. Autobots symbols. Some cheap ass Autobot symbols, but I appreciate it. Oh my god. Alright, just playing around,
Okay.
So that's the styrofoam, and this is the box. The box is, I feel like it's kind of moldy, but you know, it's got all this dust and dirt. Oh well. That's how big the box is. Oh, take a look. Instruction manual with the collector card and some stickers. I like to go for cartoon accuracy, so I don't know if I'll put the stickers on. There it is. And then, are you ready for the big show? Are you ready? Oh, oh baby. Oh, oh, oh. All right, here we have Omega Supreme all assembled. Not much of an assembly needed because all we gotta do is assemble this arm here and that arm there. And that's pretty much it right from the box. And assembling the arms is pretty easy, except for opening up the ramp on both of these forearm parts. Now the only accessory that came with Gabriel is the alternate face. On my copy, the face looks pretty good. The paint job is done pretty well. No blemishes, nothing whatsoever. Now to swap out Omega Supreme's face, all you gotta do is open up the windshield. Duh. Yeah. It's a bit stiff. Everything is stiff. You know, right out of the box. Slide the face just out a bit slightly so that you can wedge your fingers between the face and the computer screen that is on the other side. There you go. Slowly. I'm gonna try not to scratch anything. And then you got the blue eyes in there. Nicely done. And there you go. Push it in. Yeah, it's done. and then twist it on the other side and make sure you got everything in. There you go, pretty easy. Taking a closer look at the face sculpt, I think my copy of Gabriel is done pretty well. There's not a nick or scratch over there, and I'm absolutely thankful for that. The sculpt is a little bit odd in my opinion, but it still resembles Omega Supreme. It still gives that Omega Supreme quality, and it's pretty, I like it. So I am happy about that. Looking at the rest of the figure, there are some paint apps over here on the wings, some paint apps on the shoulder blades, gunmetal on the torso, some paint apps here on the forearms, slight detailing here that gives that cartoon accurate look all the way down, and voila. I love the plastic quality on Gabriel. It does not have that fans toy swirling, and it looks smooth. And the plastic does feel a little bit different than fans toys plastic, and it feels like it has that little bit of a softer feel when you touch it, and when you knock on it, it has that little softer sound. It feels a little bit more less hollow, and that's pretty nice. I love the details here. Looks pretty darn cartoon accurate, and I will go through the cartoon accuracy comparisons a little later. And here's Gabriel from the side, and if I just zoom in a little bit more, a little bit of paint apps over there and there. Some of the forearms as per usual, that's painted, and it's a little bit of detailing, and that little nice metal piece right there. And here's Gabriel from the back, zooming in. You got the paint apps on the hose for the thrusters, a little bit of paint apps there and there. Love this distinctive mark that is Omega Supreme. Paint apps there, and what's back there? It looks really darn good, really nice, beautiful. I just appreciate the look. And finally, Gabriel from the other side, taking a closer look so that you can admire everything that's great about him. My copy of DX9 Gabriel only has one little small imperfection right there. I've got two concerns about the design of Gabriel. First of all is the joint part for the elbow. So you see the ratchets here is just so strong that when you try to bend the elbow, you can see that you are wedging this connector joints here. And I don't know if this will stand the test of time. Another concern that I have is that if you look at the chest clasp over here and the design right here on the peg, you can see that they're both facing the same way. There's two notches here and there's two notches over there. This means that this mold of this two pieces are actually the same one plastic piece. And that means you have an asymmetric design. Now that's okay, but what I'm concerned about is that I feel like this chest clasp is a little higher than this piece right there. And if you open up the clasp, I think that there's a little bit of stretch mark down here. And that's because I feel like this little peg, there's not really clasped neatly into this slot. And when I try to wedge it in, I need to push in the shoulder here and try and apply a little bit more force to clasp things together. Now if I were to compare to the shoulder clasp on the right, it's a lot easier. There is a little bit of a stress mark there, but when I try to clasp things in, it's just a tiny bit easier. Now I don't know whether this is an intentional design on DX9 or it's a factory mistake. A pretty cool feature on Omega Supreme is the light function. There's also some light function on the left hand. So let's compare Gabriel with the cartoon model. Right from the bat, I have to say that DX9 is sculpted and detailed remarkably close to the toon, but with a lot of added details just to break up the parts and the blandness, I guess, in the toy. But personally, I prefer my toys not to have too much details. I guess for a big part, that's okay, but if all these details were squished down into maybe a cardboard size, I think that would be too much detail. I like my bots just plain and simple and nice and clean. But that is just a matter of personal preference. Looking at the head of the X9's, the face sculpt is a little bit taller compared to the cartoon model, which is a bit flatter and wider. The rail sections here, these are detailed remarkably close to the cartoon. You got the little circles on the shoulders pad area. That is very cartoon accurate. Except the DX9 has added a little bit of details. The shoulder clasps quite remarkably close. This section here is really close to the cartoon, except that it is a little bit long. On Gabriel, you have the details here, the two little circles and the little long section there. That is definitely in the cartoon and detailed over there. The hose is detailed in the cartoon but just not painted. The Gabriel is painted, so that's well nice. A little bit more added details along the forearms when you compare that to the cartoon. The classic details on the thighs and the shins, and then the pointed shins here. These are all remarkably close to the cartoon. This little crotch area here is remarkably close to the cartoon, except that there is a bit of breakout section here. You see this line here? Well, in the cartoon, this red section here will go right down to the crotch area, but you don't have that on Gabriel. Not a deal breaker, definitely. And these feet here look remarkably nice as well. Alright, let's do some comp. Here is Omega Supreme with Optimus Prime, Inferno, Ironhide, Sunstreaker, and a Minibot Wind Charger. And let's do some comps with the cons. Here is Omega Supreme with Megatron, Tiny Hand Starscream, Shrapnel, and Frumble. Let's go through the articulation for Omega Supreme. Look at my copy of Omega Supreme, look at that. I just can't get the final ratchets to click in place. I'm sweating and I'm tired. So let's do some basic overview. Here we got the ramp. The ramp has no track lines, so there's nothing to hold anything into place. Here's the tank. As you can see, when I'm trying to roll the tank on the ramp, it moves and slides. There's no natural guiding lines for the tank to stay in place. Once it's on the U track, you can see that there's no real grid marks here to kind of keep the track in between the threads of the tank. So it's just all free willingly moving around, and you gotta actually guide it with your hands. So that's a bummer. So here's Omega Supreme in the base mode, and what I've got to say. First of all, I'm really bothered by how it's really difficult for me to make sure I can click onto the last ratchet joint to make this piece here upright. Look at how distorted that looks. The ramp itself here, I'm kind of disappointed. Because of the cartoon accuracy that DX9 is going for in the bot mode, it sacrificed the alt mode. There are no tracks or any guiding rails along the ramps. When I put like the Omega tank on the top of the ramp, it slides in and out very easily. And when I try to roll it down, I have to use my hands to guide it through instead of the tracks being in between the threads. And these little wheels here, roller wheels, isn't helping much. And when I get to the U section of the track, it kind of moves along the rails pretty nicely. Not the best, but I guess it does the job. Let's see how the tank goes up the ramp. Again, the lack of rails along the track just makes things a little bit more difficult to maneuver. What about the playability of the MP cars with Omega Supreme in the alt mode? We know that the width of the car for a big regular size MP car bot is wider than the tracks, so everything should just roll off the rails. Here's a car bot, and let's see how it rolls. Not much ground clearance. And here is a mini bot, and the wheels can't fit between the rails, so let's see how it rolls. Again, the lack of rails along the tracks here makes it very difficult for things to slide off. Taking a closer look at the rocket, you can see all the details in there, extra details to just give it that more realistic look, and some paint apps all over the place in gunmetal. You've got a button here which you can turn on, and that will activate the light function. Yeah, and you can make that effect. There is another LED light on the front, and the button is just right there, a little small button. There you go. Not much of an articulation on the rocket except for the claws, which makes up the hand. And if you like to open up the ramp, you can do so by going up to this panel. You can see that there are little rivets, and you try to grab these pegs out, pull this out. It's a bit very stiff. And there you go, and you can open it up. There. And that's your ramp. And then to close it, all you gotta do is to flip everything back and make sure this is in L shape, and then you can push everything back in. And here we have the tank. The colors are a little bit different compared to Terminus Giganticus. A lot of details, a lot of paint apps all over the tank that you don't really get to appreciate in the bot mode. So here's the tank from the front, the side, the back, the other side, the top, and the bottom. One cool function that we got is at the back, you got this screen here, like a computer screen, where you can pull this windshield up, right? And if you got a small figure like, you know, Spike or Spark Plug, you can kind of bend the knees, the hips just a little bit, and then place him just like that, and then you can close it up, and there you go. It's like Chip is in control of Omega Supreme. In terms of articulation, the threads do not move. The barrel here does move up and down, so does the barrel on the turret. The turret does go from side to side. So there you go, that's DX9 Gabriel in a nutshell. And here's a pretty remarkable big size, Titan size bot. So would I recommend him? Let me go through 3 things I like about this guy and 3 things I think that could have been done better. First thing, the cartoon accuracy is remarkably close to the toon. All the little details that's added doesn't really take away from the toon accuracy that I'm looking for. 2. The transformation of DX9 Gabriel is remarkably intuitive and easy. I did not need any instructions except for the part where I need to transform into the base, but once I saw pictures of this guy in the base mode, everything just clicked into place. Third thing I like about this toy is that the materials used, the plastic, is remarkably nice and smooth. No plastic swirling whatsoever. There's 3 things that I think that could have been improved. Perhaps we can add butterfly joint. I mean, he's such a big part, for him not to be able to fold his arms together, that is a missed opportunity. The second thing I don't like about this guy is the lack of rails along the ramps in the base mode. My car bots keep sliding off track, and that just diminishes the playability of the toy in the base mode. The third thing that I think that could have been done better are the strength and tolerances of the hip ratchets. It was really hard to get the base mode to be perpendicular to the ground and parallel to the rockets and the other parts of the base. That just makes the building like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And I think that if they improve the tolerances of the hip ratchets, it would have made an incredible, remarkable toy. So, would I recommend DX9 D12 Gabriel? And my answer is yes. He is so easy to transform, so much fun, big nice bot, gives your shelf a really big presence. And if you have owned FT20's Terminus Giganticus, would you trade it up for this guy? Yes, there are some reports out there about DX9 being wet, not a problem. DX9 having a lot of chipping and stuff like that. Make sure that you get your copy from a reputable retailer that is willing to do a no excuse exchange for that perfect DX9 Gabriel bot, because DX9 does not really connect with Western customers outside of China, and that's just the nature of how they do business. But if you are in China and you connect to them via Weibo in Chinese, you won't have a problem at all. But what are your thoughts? Please leave your comments in the section below. If you enjoy this video, hit the like and share button. Also hit the sub and bell button for more future updates. Again, this is Ben in China signing off, and I'll see you on the flip side.